All right, guess it's 12 o'clock, so we might as well kick it off to everyone who has joined. And again, to everyone who has joined, thank you very much. Just to give you a bit of a quick rundown, we're going to have a look at a Dynamo plugin that came out for Advanced Steel just recently. But before we get into that, I will just have a quick talk about myself. My name is Tomislav Golubovic. I am a Senior Technical Specialist here at Autodesk Australia and New Zealand. As it goes, I started this month 6 years ago, so the end of the month. Back then was when Autodesk University started in Vegas, so that was the week I started. Previous to that, I was a CAD administrator at Worley Parsons, looking after AutoCAD, MicroStation, PDS, PDMS, AutoPlant, with a little bit of a background on DOS and VBA for AutoCAD, doing the odd MicroStation script and PDMS script and that sort of stuff to do catalogs and specs. And plus as well, I used to do some of the training with the users at Worley Parsons. I would do lunch and learn sessions and obviously just try and get people up to speed and get our workflows going. Other companies I used to work for previous to Worley were GHD, Conor Wagner back in the day, Fleur Caverna. I also worked for Boeing. When we worked for Boeing, we did a little bit of work for the RAF up in Queensland. And my background is mainly in piping, but I've also done civil, structural, electrical, telco work. When I used to live up in Brisbane, and then I moved to Melbourne. And a couple of years ago I moved to Perth, and now I'm back in Melbourne and Melbourne based again. So been around the block, so to speak, but again, been at Autodesk 6 years as a pre-sales tech specialist looking after the plant industry, and even more so recently the infrastructure, steel fabrication. So you might see me doing webinars or videos on advanced steel, as well as the MEP fabrication side. So again, things like CAM duct and CADMAP and FabMap, are sort of a couple of the packages that I also look after here in the Australia and New Zealand region. So what we're going to look at today is Dynamo for Advanced Steel. So Dynamo has been around for a while, but was only just sort of recently that it came out for Advanced Steel, like I said before. When you do sign into your application manager there, so that's that bottom left image, and Advanced Steel has been fully updated, then you will get the Dynamo extension for Advanced Steel as an installer. And then what will happen is under the add-ins tab within Advanced Steel, you'll see the Dynamo button. Basically, Dynamo is a visual programming. So what we're going to do today, this webinar was set for an hour, but in all honesty, we'll probably go for 20-30 minutes. I will show you exactly what Dynamo does. I will show you some example sample scripts that come with the software, and what we're going to do for this webinar is just basically create a new blank one and just show you how easy it is to, I guess, get things going. And then as you progress, obviously you can work out what you need and what can link and tie in together. So if you do have a little bit of a programming background, it will help. If you don't, I do have a little bit of a background, and I still sort of work myself through the tutorials and the help files with Dynamo, but once you get going, and it's just one of those things, if you lock yourself away for a day or two, then you will really pick it up. I can talk about it, but in all honesty, it's probably easier just to go live. So what I've got here is Advanced Steel, so nothing special about this. This is just normal, regular Advanced Steel, updated to the latest and greatest updates and patches that come through the AAM. So what you'll see is all the usual menus and ribbons and toolbars here, but if we go to the add-ins button ribbon, there's a Dynamo for Advanced Steel. So this has been installed obviously, and this button now appears. So what happens is we click on it, and then Dynamo will fire up. So there is not a discrepancy, but with Dynamo for Advanced Steel, it's at version 0.9, and with Dynamo for Revit, I think it's at 1.1 or 1.2 at the moment. So if you do update or do want to update, don't update the Advanced Steel one. There's some links on the forums about how to roll back your Dynamo to go back from 1.2 to 0.9 for Advanced Steel, but again, don't make the mistake. You'll see up here when we load Dynamo, there'll be like a little update button, so just for the time being, ignore it. So what we have here is the Dynamo dashboard. We've obviously got creating new files, we've got our recent files, any help and tutorials and references, and even samples down here as well. So for the time being, I will not show the samples, but what I'm going to do is create a new one. And then what you'll see on the Advanced Steel side is as we make changes to the Dynamo script, then the Advanced Steel side will change at the same time. So to basically kick things off, this is that button I was talking about to update. So don't, for the time being, do not update your Dynamo for Advanced Steel. Keep it at 0.9. So we click on New, and you're presented with the Dynamo interface, so we can switch between the 3D view in the background, and we can also look at, I'll just drag this over, the programming interface or the 3D view itself. So what we want to do, we're just going to start off, you can just type in adding a number. So this will essentially create a number. Come on. And it looks like my mouse has just crapped itself. Here we go. So this number is, again, just a number that's generated, or that you want a Dynamo to generate. So what you can do, you can use normal Control-C, Control-V. So I want to copy this a few times. So I'm going to generate a series of numbers that I'm going to use as part of my Dynamo script. So the first one is just will end up just being a coordinate, so I'm going to leave that at 0. My next one is going to be the overall length of my project I'm going to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an array of columns that might be the basis for a warehouse, a shed, some sort of form that we're going to do. I have also got the number of bays. So I'm going to do number of bays. Undo what I've done. So this for this example will be, if we are doing some sort of portal frame, so this will denote the number. So if I want to do 30 meters long with 4 bays, this is where we'll type in the 4 bays. We've also got the height. So this will be the height of the columns, and we've also got the overall width of our item, so I don't need that last one. So I know, let's say for argument's sake, this is in millimeters, so it's 30 meters long. We got 6 bays, and the whole item is 6 meters high, and let's make it 8 meters wide. Okay, so they're just our values that we're going to start plugging in. So if we keep looking through the script here, we've got a divider operator. Okay, so what that essentially is going to do is take a couple values. So we can connect a couple entries into your XY there, and then this is the function that it does. So I can drag that 30 meters into my divider, and then you'll see if I hover my mouse over the bottom there, it gives us a result of 5,000. So what it's doing, it's taking the X value, the Y value, which are the two numbers we've got, and it's dividing it, and we get the value. So if I change this to 5 bays, then you'll see Dynamo will give us a value of 6,000. So that's the value that it's returning. Now, what we also want to do is, because we're going to basically create like a sequence or a range for this. So this 0 value was the start, so that's just our origin. The end value is 30 meters, so we're going from 0 to 30 meters, and we're going to step it to the value of this divider that's come through. So now if I have a look at the result of that, we're going to step 0, 6 meters, 12, 18, 24 up to our 30 meters. So if I do the exact, if I change my number of bays, then same thing, it turns around and goes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay. So that's just the beginning of it. So you can see Dynamo hasn't run anything yet. I can get it to run automatically as I process the numbers, or I can even turn around and run it manually and say run at the workflow whenever I want it. So I'm just going to keep it on automatic. So the next one is, what we want to do is start getting into to create some points. So we just look in our library and we say I want a point. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is basically do start and end points for my two different bays. Okay, so my range is really the sequence of numbers that I want my columns to start running at. So what they're going to do is give me a result of, so if I look at my list points here, you can see that, I'll just pin that. So there's my X, Y, Z values. So at the moment, what Dynamo will want to do, it'll create points at 0, 0, 0, and then 5,000, 0, 0, then 10,000, 0, 0. And this is where we start plugging in other numbers and values to start generating those numbers. So what we're going to have is one side and then the other side. So if I zoom back out, okay, you can see there that Dynamo has started putting in the points on those coordinates. Okay, so if I zoom back in here and I want to start doing some Y values, so I know that this first row, so as I highlight the points, you can see that it's highlighting this bay here. So I know these are all going to be at 0, so I can just copy this 0 value and I can link that back to my Y value for those points. So they're going to be all in line. You can leave it at 0 if you want. Otherwise, obviously, if you move this around a site or something, you can plug in different values. So the other one is we have our height. So the height value goes to the Z value of the first bay and the Z value of the second bay. And our width is also linked to the second set. So now, if I just move that out of the way and go back to my points, you can see there that we've got an array of points, plus we've got like an eastern bay and a western bay, and then each one of those bays has its own Z value as well. So let's look at changing it to 45 meters. Then you can see all of the points change to be 45 meters. If I change it back to 20 meters, then obviously it changes to 20 meters. Okay, I'm going to open up questions in chat, I guess a little bit later. So now from an advanced steel side, if I close off the search function, when you launch Dynamo for advanced steel within advanced steel, you get obviously the beams, plates, and even tags that you can do for advanced steel entities. So I'm just going to look up straight beam. Okay, so this is straight beam by start point and end point. So this is looking up an advanced steel beam. Okay, so because we do know the points, I'll just make this a little bit bigger. Because I've got my coordinates, what we're going to do is tell advanced steel, use the array of points from the first one. Okay, so that's our start and end points, which will denote our column height. Okay, and there's also a vector value which we can put in there. So I can say, just put it around the x-axis. And what I'll do, I'll show you that what happens with that a little bit later. But for the time being, I'll leave the orientation in the x-axis. And there you go. Okay, so once we've orientated it, we haven't denoted a beam yet, but we do know that Dynamo is going to draw a beam between this array of points on our ground level, for example, up to the height there. So I'll just switch back to my programming, and I'm going to copy this down. Now to remove connections, you just click on it, and I'm going to keep the vector one there because that's just common between the two. So now we're going to do the same thing for the other side of the bay. One point, other point, and then there it is. So this is where we start to get tricky. With advanced steel, and I'll just minimize this down, it needs to know the libraries of it. So I guess you can probably think of this webinar a little bit of a training session. Okay, if I jump in advanced steel, you can see that it's placed some beams, but I don't want those beams. They'll be just a default kind of value in there. So to hard code the beams that I want, you have to go into the tables. Okay, now for anyone who's used advanced steel, we're going to connect to the databases, and you need to look for a profile master table. So I'm going to sort by my type name, and then in here we're going to look for a value under the type name text. So regardless of where you're working with and who you're working for, this is the value that you want. So I know that I want to do Australian, New Zealand universal columns, and this is the table name that we need to link to. So if I copy that value and then look for that table as well, okay, now what we want to look for is the section name, and take note of the section name. So I want to do something like you see 150 by 23.4, so that's the second one there. So what you want to do with with Dynamo, is double click anywhere, and it does what's called a code block. So you're going to have to put in inverted commas AS NZS universal column hashtag at alt 167. Oops, stick it at the end. So in between the at and the next piece of code, you've got to do 0167 and alt, and you get that symbol, and then we do at hashtag again, and then that section name, so 150, UC space 150 times 23.4, then close it off. Okay, so that's the code block for the members that we're going to use. So now at the moment, Dynamo hasn't drawn it in the section that we want. Okay, so I'm going to do a straight beam, take the value of this code block to the section name, and hopefully it's not going to make a liar out of me. And you can see there that it's put it in as a UC, well, 150 UC 23.4. Okay, so just to show you what happens again from changing some of the values. So let's go back to the beginning of our script. So let's make this 36 meters. So Dynamo has changed it. I click back in the Advanced Steel window, and Advanced Steel changes it to 36 meters. If I make this 4 bays, Dynamo changes, then Advanced Steel changes to 4 bays. Okay, so 24 meters by 6 bays, 24 meters by 6 bays. If I want this to be 12 meters high, then the Advanced Steel model changes to 12 meters high. And let's go 10 meters wide, 10 meters wide. Okay, so that's really the gist of how you can start doing, I guess, an array of beams and columns and doing whatever else it is that you need to do. So what I'm going to do, just for argument's sake, just so I don't lose this, excuse me, I'm going to change this to, okay, so just to show you how complex you can get, I'm going to close this one, and then I'm going to load the portal frame script. So I'm just going to get rid of this DWG file, start a new one. And then load the sample portal frame. So what you'll see once you get obviously yourself with Dynamo and Advanced Steel loaded as part of your subscription, you'll get access to obviously all of these scripts. So this is quite a hefty script when you look at it, and it's set to a manual run. So I'm just going to run this workflow, and it goes through and does its thing. Okay, so both Dynamo and Advanced Steel will go through the motions of whatever these code blocks are. You can see here that we can group them as well. And then once you pick up a group, then you can turn around and start moving it around and making it pretty. Within the groups, you can also have it do some automation in regards to cleaning up, things like that. So this is that same script, and you can see it's fairly complex in regards to doing things like a portal frame. If I just bring this back down, and then you can see in Advanced Steel we have that model in there with the beams assigned to it. Okay, so if I do again something similar here, let's look at some of the values. So distance between frames, span, roof height. Okay, so let's do the distance between the frames. Okay, let's make that 8 meters. Okay, now it's not set to automatic run, so I click manual run. Okay, and then the software will go away and then rehash this model to suit the values that are in here as well. So I don't know if anyone just sort of caught that the number between the frames changed. So if I do something to the roof height, let's make it 3,500. Click on run, click inside the Advanced Steel model, and you can see that the roof changed to be 3,500. So just to show you what happens with connections, I'm going to change this to realistic mode just to show just some 3D, so hopefully you can see it properly on your screen. So I'm just going to do a couple connections, mainly with an apex haunch. Okay, I'm not going to delve into the whole detail of doing an apex haunch. I'm just going to leave it as vanilla as possible. So there's one apex haunch, and then let's do a knee. Where is it? Knee of frame. 1, 2. Okay, and again, same thing. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not really too fussed on how it looks at the moment, because what I'm going to do is demonstrate how it changes when you turn around and change your Dynamo script. Okay, so we can see here the end bay here. I've got 3 connections. 2 are the same. One is different, just that apex haunch. So if I turn around and change the roof height back down to 1500, click on Run, click in my advanced steel model. I'll just let it do its thing. It's a little bit laggy. What's going to happen, the connections basically follow those members that it touches or that it affects. So even with Dynamo adjusting things like the roof height or the width of the bays or the width of the whole structure itself, those connections are linked to those members. So again, because we've changed it from 3500 to 1500, then the connections are going to follow through with it. So while I'm just waiting for that to regenerate itself, I'll just go through some of the questions. It looks like there might have been some audio issues early on, but it looks like it's okay now. So Salvo has asked the question, can I do connections with Dynamo? So at the moment, no. So what you basically do is draw up your members that you want, and then with those members you do your connections, and then the connections follow the members that you change. So if you change them to be a different depth, then obviously the connections are linked back to that and it changes. So while I was talking there, you can see there that the connections have moved because they were connected to those 2 members that were making up part of that portal frame. And you can see they're even on my column here. So I haven't had to go back and change anything. It just goes through and updates itself because it's linked back to those 2 items. So really, I guess you'd use Dynamo to generate the basis of the structure or whatever it is you're going to do, and then just come back later and do your connections. And still, you could turn around and group the connections. So if you changed one for whatever reason, then all of the other 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 connections that are linked back to that master connection would change following on as well. Any other questions from anyone? No. Looks like I've done well. So, like I said, if with Advanced Steel, you need to sign into your Autodesk Application Manager, and then you will get the updates for it. And then from that is, you'll see the Dynamo plugin there. Excuse me. This video will be published up to YouTube later. Just to give you an idea, I am this time next week doing an introduction to Revit LT. If you're interested in vehicle tracking, Stephen Ellis is going to talk about AVT for architects and structural engineers, plus as well Navisworks for civil, and then Sam McAllister has 3 webinars there that he's going to talk about AR for the AEC industry, concept to collaboration, and also for home builders making the move to 3D BIM. Do we have any other questions? So Gary James has asked, are the connections tied back to Dynamo? Can they be altered within Dynamo? So no, the connections are not tied back to Dynamo itself. You can't do the connections with Dynamo. You basically, like I said, you do your beams, your columns, any other purlins, I guess, that you wanted to, and then those connections are linking those members together. And then if those members change via a Dynamo script, then the connections will change because they're linked back to those items. Can we push the model to Revit? Yeah, we can still push the model to Revit. It is still an advanced steel model. There is still functionality. So if I just jump back into advanced steel again, and I'm not going to necessarily do it now. I have done webinars in the past on all of this. So if we go to export import, you can still export this model out, and then within Revit you can import it, and also within Revit, as is within advanced steel, you can synchronize the changes. So a synchronize means that the software looks at the delta changes. So if you were to do this as a 30-meter structure and then model it up in advanced steel and then send that out to Revit, and then a week later someone says we're going to make it a 36-meter structure, you would obviously change it from within advanced steel, export that out to an SMLX file, and then inside Revit you would sync the changes, which looks at the deltas rather than doing a complete overwrite if you might do with an import. Again, I have covered that in previous webinars. If you want to see, I guess, as a one-on-one, if you're Australia or New Zealand based, there's my contact details there. So I would highly encourage you to get in touch with me on LinkedIn, or you can email me directly there. If it means, we can do another webinar for everyone, or we can just do it as a one-on-one. I am going up to Brisbane on the 6th, 7th and 8th of December, so if anyone on this call is going to is Brisbane based, then touch base with me and we can come in and see you personally. Gary is there a help system? Yep, there is a help system, plus as well there's lots of YouTube videos. There's these these 4 websites here, so dynamobim.org, Dynamo Reach, dynamobim.com and dynamo.autodesk.com. And as well within Dynamo itself, if I just minimize this, so I'm just going to save this. If we jump, yep, it's okay. So I'm just going to close this and I'll show you the front dashboard. Okay, so when you go to the dashboard of Dynamo, you've got the discussion forum, the websites, there's video tutorials, there's the Dynamo primer which you can look at, and there's getting started references. There's obviously other repositories for code, and again even the sample files. So if you click on show samples in folder, it'll take you straight there, and then you can look at the sample files themselves. This is again, I've been using Dynamo since it came out for Revit as well. I'm still fairly new to it, but I got a lot of help off the video tutorials and off the portal frame as well. So yeah, again, you will find information online. There is help. There is YouTube, and yeah, you will find it. Okay, I'll just give it another minute or so, and then what we'll do, we'll end this. Like I said before, all of this is being recorded, so we'll publish this to YouTube later. So if you do go to the Autodesk website, so if you can see here, youtube.com/Autodesk ANZ, that is a local Autodesk Australia and New Zealand YouTube site, which is where we publish our webinars. Myself, Sam McAllister or Stephen Ellis will publish short 5-minute videos, sort of a tips and tricks kind of video. They will publish their webinars as well. anywhere from a few minutes up to 30, 45, an hour long, depending on what it is. If you want to visit the Advanced Steel website, there's the link there, and then like I said before, you've got 4 Dynamo websites, plus as well I guess Google is your friend. To answer Gary's question, so ideally Dynamo is mainly for setting up the framework, yes. So at the moment Dynamo is like you saw before. If we jump back into it quickly, so if I open up my desktop one, so when you look at the script for it, so under Advanced Steel, okay, so if you were to load Dynamo from Revit, this would have a Revit section. So we've got bent beams, we've got straight beams. Dynamo will do plates by polygon, or even assign things like beam sections, material, or user attributes to the tags. So yes, Gary, to answer your question, you would set up Dynamo to do the framework for it, and then go back and finish off your details of your connections and everything else within an Advanced Steel. And then ultimately, if we turned around and changed this code block to be another type of UC, you change it in there, click on the automatic or the run button, then obviously your model changes because the Dynamo script is controlling it. So yeah, I've got a little bit of a nerdy background. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's just one of those ways where once you set up something like the model that I've got here, where it might be the beginning of a portal frame or just some sort of structure with an X and a Y and a height values on it. Once you get it going, again, you don't need to remodel it. You can just keep recalling that Dynamo script again. Can you get the framing from Revit instead through Dynamo? So there is a Dynamo plugin for Revit as well, but keep in mind they are 2 different versions. So there's version 1.2 to Revit and version 0.9 for Dynamo, for Advanced Steel. But the Revit and Dynamo link is pretty much exactly the same. So you would do this same numbers and ranges and point by coordinates, but instead of doing a straight beam, which is an Advanced Steel function, you might put in something like a Revit family, which would be calling up the same type of functionality, but it would be pertaining to Revit families rather than to Advanced Steel beams. So yeah, you can work between the 2. So your workflow might be that you do this in Dynamo for Revit, create your frame and your base structure in Revit, and then export that to Advanced Steel and then detail it. You do have the 2-way synchronization between the 2 still, but again, keep in mind if you change something from the Revit side to the Advanced Steel side, depending on the connections and what's happened, you might need to redo those connections again. So I guess it's something that you'd work through, depending on your workflow and depending on at which point you come into the project and whatever your scope of work is as well. So David's asked a question about lookups. Could you determine beam sizes compared to spacing or columns compared to height? I don't see why not. Dynamo can also look up Excel sheets, so it can grab values from it. But that's actually really quite a good question, David. I don't see why not. It's probably something I'd have to look up, pardon the pun, externally to this call. From what I can gather, it just sounds like you want Dynamo to read a drawing. Again, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't see why not. Gary's asked, will this become a part of Advanced Steel, not just an external plugin? I'm not sure. I don't know. It might, it may not. I don't know. At the moment, it's an external plugin, and you have to be a subscription customer for it. So if you're not a subs customer, you won't get access to it. If you are a subs customer, you will. So I guess just watch this space. If it ends up being a part of it, then it'll be even better. Plus as well, I suspect once they get aligned in Dynamo versions, then you'd use the same Dynamo script at some point between Revit and Advanced Steel. Today's data sets, I can post this up online, I guess, if you want. It's nothing special. Yeah, it's very, very basic. But like I said, if you jump back to the Dynamo home screen, you'll get a more detailed one, but I'm more than happy to. I guess I will find somewhere to store it. I can screenshot the code if worst comes to worst to LinkedIn, I guess. But yeah, I guess, yeah, I'll find somewhere. I'll create a public link, I guess, for it if people really want to. Salvo, if you want to send me an email just as a reminder, so shoot me an email, and I guess I can email it to you is the other option if worst comes to worst. But yeah. Cool. All right, well, I guess, how are we going for time? So we've still got 20 minutes to fill out the hour, but I don't want to bore everyone. Unless anyone has any real sort of last minute questions, I'm going to start looking at ending the webinar now. Cool, all right. Thanks Salvo and Gary and David for your questions, and Gavin as well, sorry. So yeah, if you want to, just email me directly. I can send you the script that I've done. Like I said, it's really quite basic. It'll give you a starting point. And then if you are in Brisbane, let me know. Otherwise, shoot me an email and we can do an online, personalized demo and webinar for you. Awesome. Thanks everyone on the call. See ya.